All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the fourth session of this year for the Friend of the Court Presentation Series. My name is John Miles. I'm the coordinator with Wayne County Fatherhood Initiative, and we're happy to see that you were able to make it tonight for our presentation. Well, you know, this is a presentation designed to keep the community updated in regards to the changes by Friend of the Court based upon, of course, COVID-19 over the past 24 plus months. And we've made this and designed this to help you out for whether it's yourself or somebody that you might know that needs a little help in regards to the child support case, getting questions answered that can help you along in regards to how to file, when to come to the Friend of the Court in person, or what to do in regards to whether you have to go online and meet virtually. Tonight we have, as always, Aaron Lincoln, who is the Friend of the Court Deputy Court Administrator for the Family Domestic Division, and also Jillian Fitzgerald, who is the Assistant Friend of the Court Legal Director for Wayne County. I will let them go ahead and start with their presentation. And again, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. Just a little kind of logistically how tonight will work. We do have a presentation to go through. We've got PowerPoint slides, and we can make sure to email these out to you as well. We'll get them to John, and John can get them out to everybody. We are recording this, and the hope is that we'll get it up on our website and maybe a couple other websites too. So just keep that in mind for whatever information you may share or questions that you may ask later on. If you do have a question, feel free, if you want to put it in the chat, you can put it in the chat. We will probably do some open question and answer at the end too. So if you want to come off mute later on and ask the questions, you can. And then we do just ask that everybody stay on mute. It looks like everyone is on mute. You guys must be Zoom experts by now. So just because that helps with the background noise. So without further ado, Jillian's going to start us off here.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Like Aaron said, we do have a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to go through. And at the end of the presentation, Aaron is going to go through our website and give you a tour of the website. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be referring to where it is on the website. And then later on, she's going to go in and actually show you where you can find that on the website for yourself after today. So the first thing we want to do is give you some updates on the status of our operations in our buildings post-COVID, or I guess during COVID. We're still in it, right? So we are located between two buildings, the front of the courts and the Penobscot building. That's where our referees are and all of our front of the court staff. And then the Coleman Young Municipal Center is where the circuit court judges are for the Family Domestic Division. And that's also where the county clerk's office is. So right now, those two buildings are closed to the public, except for at the Penobscot building, our first floor payment window is open. At the Coleman Young building in the second floor, 201, the filings office is open. And also at KMAC, the scheduling office on the 7th floor of KMAC is open for scheduling referee hearings. Right now, all of our hearings, whether they're before the referee or the judge, are being held over Zoom unless the judge or referee directs otherwise. As far as our outreach, prior to the pandemic, we had a pretty robust program in the community. We were in 6 or 7 different locations each month. And we're getting back to doing outreach, but a lot of that is dependent on the status of our partners' operations. So right now we do have 3 of our outreaches that are up and running. The first one is the UAW. It's the first Friday of each month. Access, which is the second Friday of each month. And Team Wellness Center is the 4th Thursday of each month. So we have all the addresses and phone numbers listed there. So if you go into one of those locations on their designated days between 9 and 3 p.m., they'll put you in touch with a front of the court worker that will be able to talk to you specifically about your case. So we talked about the Penobscot payment window is open. We just opened it up about a month or two ago. That's on the first floor of the Penobscot building. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 3 p.m. The payment window, they accept cash, money order, cashier checks, or credit cards. We do ask that when you come that you have your case number available, that you'll need that when making a payment. And when you do come in, you're going to be required to wear a mask. The mask either has to be a medical surgical grade mask, a KN95, or an N95. If you don't have one, we'll provide it, but do expect that when you do come in, you'll have to wear a mask. So how can customers access case information right now while the customer service area is closed? We have several different options, and we are looking back to getting into in-person walk-in customer service, but we're not quite there yet. So stay tuned. That information will be on our website. But right now we're offering virtual customer service appointments. The appointments, you can make the appointment online on our website, and Erin will show you where that's at. And we have appointments available Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 p.m. They are 20-minute slots, and you'll get to meet one-on-one, just like we are right now over Zoom, with a child support professional about your case. A couple other options that are available are you can call our call center at that 844 number and talk to a call center representative. They do have a courtesy callback feature. So if you do call and there's a long wait time, you can keep your place in queue, and they'll call you when you come up next in line. If all you're calling is regarding is payment information, you can contact the Michigan State Disbursement Unit at that 877 number. Or if you're calling to start a child support case, you can call the Office of Child Support at that 866 number. We also have on the state's website, the My Child Support portal is available where you can develop a login and a password, and you'll be able to see your case online, and you'll be able to see payments, charges, upcoming hearings, and some other information on the website. So that's another option. We have court reminder service that's available, and you can sign up on our website. Again, Erin will show you where that's at. And what that is that allows you to register to get text or email reminders about upcoming hearings. The reminders come out 1 week in advance and 24 hours in advance. And then also on our website is Odyssey Public Access. Odyssey is our case management system, and you can log in there and see any sort of case activity that's happening on your case. It's basically a registry of every action that's taken on your case. So any sort of filings that are made on the case, any hearings, any orders that are entered, that's all indicated on Odyssey Public Access. So how can customers make child support payments right now? We talked about making them in person at the Penobscot building. You could also mail your payment to the Michigan State Disbursement Unit at that PO box, and they accept a check or a money order. You can pay online at MSDU.com or govpaynow.com by credit card, by phone by credit card, or you can pay with cash using Pay Near Me or MoneyGram. If you do use either of those services, please go to their websites first. You do need to develop a login and a password or an account rather to be able to make those payments in person and cash at those locations like 7-Eleven, Family Dollar, CVS, and Walmart. The 2 stars that are there, the gold stars, those denote how you can make a directed payment on a case. So if you have multiple cases, say you have 3 child support cases, and you want to pay $100 on one specific case, the only way to direct a payment to that specific case is either to make your payment in person at the Penobscot building or to pay it through GovPay Now. So really the difference is all the other payment options, you're paying directly to the state, which is the Michigan State Disbursement Unit, and they have to distribute your payment according to federal guidelines. So they would take that $100 and split it 3 ways, wouldn't be equal, $33 each. But there are strict federal guidelines that they have to follow when they disperse those payments. So if you want your payment to go to a specific case, the only way to do that is to pay in person or use GovPay Now. So how can customers resolve bench warrants right now? So there are 2 different bench warrants. So you can get a bench warrant for failing to appear at a show cause hearing for child support. If you're the non-custodial parent or the payer of support, Or you can also get a bench warrant if you're the custodial parent and you fail to appear at a parenting time show cause. So if it's a child support bench warrant and you want to resolve that, what you would need to do would be to either call that number, the 313-224-4066 number. And that is the phone number for our sheriffs. And they'll put you in touch with the front of the court attorney to try and resolve your warrant over the phone. The other option would be to go to a local law enforcement agency and pay the full cash performance bond. We'll dismiss the warrant, and then the cash performance bond will be applied towards your arrears. If it is a bench warrant for failing to appear at a parenting time show cause, you would need to contact the judge's courtroom to make arrangements to appear on that. And again, Aaron will show you on the website where you can get the contact information for the judge's courtrooms.
And the only other thing I wanted to add on that was that these are bench warrants, either the failing to appear at a child support show cause hearing or the parenting time show cause hearings. Those are ones that the front of the court issues. There is also felony non-support, which either the Wayne County prosecutor can pursue or the Attorney General's office can pursue. And so those are actually criminal actions that arise out of the child support case. It's not anything that our office is really doing. And so there are times that people will have warrants for those too. We can, if you call our call center, we can give you, direct you to how to get to the Attorney General's office or the prosecutor's office to resolve those. But just wanted to make note that there are those kind of warrants that are out there as well.
Okay, so how can customers modify child support right now? We do have a couple of different options. One is you can file a motion to modify child support, and we have motion packets available online on our website, and they have instructions on how to fill them out and to file them. Or every 36 months, your case comes up for what's called a 3-year support review. If your case is eligible for that, we will send you notice in the mail, and you can respond requesting a review. But if any time there's been a change in circumstances, you can send a letter to us at that PO box there to request a 3-year support review, and we will initiate it. The big difference between the motion to modify child support and the 3-year support review is the commencement date of the modification. So if you file a motion to modify child support, the support will be modified effective the first of the month following you filing your motion. But if you request a 3-year support review, the commencement date would be the date that we send out the mailers to the other party, the questionnaire, to gather the information to run the guidelines and do a recommendation. So there could be a delay built in there. So depending on how high your support obligation is or low, you may consider doing the motion to modify child support, because then you have control over what that commencement date will be. So how can payers manage arrears and or payments right now? We have a few different options. The first two here deal with arrears owed to the state of Michigan. So arrears are owed to the state when the custodial parent goes on cash assistance. So when he or she goes on cash assistance, they assign their right to receive child support over to the state of Michigan for the period of time that they're on the grant. So if the payer of support owes money to the state of Michigan and they're indigent, they truly cannot afford to pay the state owed arrears, you can apply for forgiveness, and our application is online. I think it's like 4 pages long, might take you 10 minutes to complete it and the cost of a stamp. But I would encourage you to submit that first. We've discharged hundreds of millions of dollars through this program. So you may be eligible for that, particularly if you're receiving SSI. If you're working, but you can't afford all the money that's owed to the state and you only owe money to the state of Michigan, you can file a motion for payment plan. And when you do that, you're negotiating your arrears with the state of Michigan. So say, for instance, you owe $20,000 in state owed arrears, you're working, but you can't pay that full amount off. You might be able to negotiate a payment plan for, say, $100 a month, or until $2,400 is paid. It's usually a 2 to 3 year period. And then once you pay the $2,400, you would file another motion requesting discharge of the balance. So in that situation, if you paid $2,400, $17,600 of your arrears would be wiped off the books. So that would be if it were me and I owed money to the state of Michigan, I would try to apply for the complete forgiveness first. But if you aren't eligible for that and you only owe money to the state, that motion for payment plan is probably the way to go. If the money is owed to the custodial parent and he or she is willing to waive the arrears that are owed to them, you can either submit a stipulated order to your judge's courtroom for signature, or you can use the consent docket at the front of the court. And again, Erin will show you that on our website. If you receive an income withholding order and it's too high, you can file a motion to lower payments, and that form is on our website. It's 4124. Keep in mind that each night our computer system is looking for employment for you. So if you do not report employment to us and the computer catches it first, it's going to default to the highest amount possible. So we do encourage you, if it is too much, to contact us and see about getting it lowered, because the last thing that we want to do is to take too much out of your paycheck and have you quit your job, and then we're back at square one. We really want to get payments, but payments that you can reasonably afford. And then the last option there is if the two parties get married after our case is started, you can submit a stipulation to abate support based upon marriage. Again, that form's on our website. You do have to marry after the case was finalized. And if you follow all that paperwork and submit it and everything's in order, then we will stop the support from charging and we'll wipe out all the arrears on the account.
Jillian, do you just want to talk a little bit about how cases or how money is owed to the state versus owed to the custodial parent?
I think I started off with that.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was trying to answer questions.
that's okay, but I can say it again. So when the custodial parent applies for cash assistance, they go on a cash assistance grant, they're assigning their right to receive child support over to the state of Michigan for the time that they're on assistance. And the state will try to recoup up to the amount that the grant is. So if the support is higher than the grant amount, they're only going to try to receive recoupment for the amount of the actual grant. And then the difference would be owed to the payee. But that's when money is owed to the state of Michigan, is when the custodial parent receives cash assistance from the state. So not food stamps wouldn't count. It would just be cash assistance. So I know the front of the court is known a lot for enforcing child support, but we do also enforce parenting time. And that is a free service that we are statutorily required to do. The one hitch, though, is that in order for us to enforce your parenting time order, you need to have specific parenting time terms. So we can't enforce an order that just says reasonable parenting time or parenting time as the parties agree. It really needs to be a specific order that says every other weekend, Friday at 6 p.m. to Sunday at 6 p.m. That's something that if the custodial parent is not complying with, we can enforce. So if you do have a specific parenting time order and the other party is not giving you your parenting time, you can submit that request for parenting time or custody enforcement. The form's on our website. It's free of charge, and we'll take it from there and schedule it for hearing. If you don't have a specific parenting time order, then you would need to get one, and you would want to file that motion to change parenting time so that you get a specific parenting time order like every other weekend. And then that is something that we can enforce for you.
I had gotten a direct message in the chat asking about how do you change child support so that the child sees the other party more. Oh wait, I'm sorry. In this situation, it looks like this parent is supposed to have 50-50, but has the child all the time. The other parent doesn't call during the week or do anything for the child. And so this parent wants the child 100% of the time. Okay, so that would be most likely a motion to change custody, because it sounds like you probably have joint legal and joint physical custody. I'll show you later on our website, there is a motion to change custody packet that you can file, and we'll go through on how to file it. We can't, just to kind of clarify, we can't force somebody, the court can't enforce a parent to spend time with their child, basically, but it sounds like that's not what you're wanting to do. You just want full legal custody. So that would be a change of custody. So yeah, we will definitely get to that and get to how to file. Okay, so with that, that is the next topic we're talking about is how to file. And like Jillian said, we will also go through our website too. We have a section of our website that has all of our forms on it. We have basically motion packets that walk you through all the steps for how to file. There's motion packets for change of custody, change of parenting time, change of child support, and many others. So with filing, Jillian and I are both attorneys, and we realize that sometimes we talk about we use a lot of legal terms and a lot of acronyms. And so if anyone has questions about things, let me know. And I'm just going to kind of go through some of the legal terms in relation to filing. So with filing, a lot of times we talk about complaints. What a complaint is that it's just the initial document that's filed with the court to start a court case. There's also, you may hear of a summons. A summons is basically the document that is generated from the court after a complaint is filed. And it's just the document that has to be served on the defendant of the case. And it tells the defendant, hey, this case has been filed against you. You need to file an answer or appear in court, whatever it may be. And that's what that summons document is. The court speaks through its written orders. So if you are in a hearing, anything that's said during that hearing, unless it's actually reduced to writing in the order that comes out of that courtroom, it's what's said basically on the record is not the order, it's what's actually in the order and in the writing. A motion is something that you file. It's your way of asking the court to change something about the order. So like we were just talking about with the custody issue, if the original order was for 50-50 custody and one parent wants full custody, they would file that motion. Again, that's just the paperwork that is filed with the court to ask that. And then an objection is basically just that. So if in certain circumstances, either the front of the court can make a recommendation or the front of the court referee can make a recommendation, and there's court rules that tell us how parties can object to that. So basically you're objecting to it, and you'll get a hearing either in front of the referee if it's a front of the court recommendation, or you would get a hearing in front of the judge if it's a referee recommendation. So those are kind of the terms about, the actual pieces of paper that are filed with the court. So right now there are only two options for filing paperwork with the court. One of them is in person, and that's done at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. And the other one is by mail. So with coming into Coleman Young, like Jillian said, for the Penobscot building, there is a health screening that's done at the front doors. And we do require everyone to wear either a medical grade mask, KN95 or N95. We did have an email filing system that was up during the pandemic. That email filing system was basically taken down starting February 28th. We are working on a new email filing system. I'm sorry, not an email filing, but like an e-file system, but that system is not up and running yet. We will definitely post on our website and there'll be notifications when that system is up and running. But for now, it's either in person or via mail. So like I said, in-person filings, it's done at the Coleman Young Municipal Center, 2 Woodward Avenue. So that's where the Spirit of Detroit statue is. So hopefully everybody's familiar with that, right at the corner of Jefferson and Woodward. It's open Monday through Friday, 8 to 12. They do take a break for lunch, and then they're open again 1 to 4, but you do have to be in line by 3:30 to get service. First of all, you have to go to room 700A. You basically get a number, and that's kind of where the waiting room is, and then they'll call your number, and then you can go down to room 201, which is where the clerks actually are, and that's where you file your actual documents. So with certain documents that are filed, so with a complaint when a case is started right off the bat, and with the various motions that are filed, there are fees that are associated with those. There is a way to get those fees waived. So there is a fee waiver form that's on our website. Again, when we take the tour of the website, I will make sure to show you where those are. Those have to be signed and approved by our chief judge. And you can do that in courtroom 701 is the courtroom of the chief judge, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 12:30, and again from 2 to 4:30. And those have to be, that fee waiver has to be completed before you go to room 700A to file your documents. So basically you have to get the fee waiver done first, and then you can proceed with your filings. So with motion hearings, depending on what kind of motion you're filing, you would have a hearing either before the judge or before the referee. So the way that you actually get your hearing date varies depending on if the motion goes before the judge or before the referee. In a nutshell, the hearings that a referee hears, it's basically anything to do with child support. So if it's a change in child support, if it's a motion for a credit, something like that, that's going to go before the referee. Anything with regard to parenting time also goes in front of the referee. So a enforcement request or a change in parenting time. The motions to change custody, the initial hearing goes in front of the referee. Things that the judge would hear would be issues relating to legal custody. So just kind of a note on that. Legal custody is really the parent's decision-making with regards to things like schooling or medical decisions, where the child, I already said school, medical decisions, religion, things like that. So if a parent wants to change where the child goes to school, that would be an issue related to legal custody. That's something that would go before the judge. If there's an issue, let's say with regard to vaccinations, we've had a lot of that lately, obviously with the pandemic and everything going on, that would go in front of the judge as well. And then if it's a judgment of divorce and any type of property issues with relation to the house or money, those are things that go before the judge too. The friend of the court referee doesn't hear those things. So with those judge hearings, you do have to complete, it's called a precipice. It's basically just the document that's filed with the court that says that there's a motion and you need a hearing on it. We do those electronically. I will show you the where you do the e-precipice online. Again, once we go through the website, you do have to email a copy of the motion to the judge's courtroom. And again, I'll show you where those email addresses can be found. Then once the copy of the motion is filed and you've done the e-precipice, then you'll get a hearing date. Actually comes via email, and it may be different from the one that you requested, but you have to go by what the court gives you because basically the court sets its schedule. With the referee hearings, there's two ways you can do it. You can either do a precipice for the referee hearings as well, or you can go to the scheduling office. Jillian mentioned it earlier. It's in 900A in the Coleman Young building. So if you want to get your hearing date, the same day that you file your motion, you can do that and get that hearing date that day. So if you want to file by mail, you can. The address is right there. You do have to include either your completed fee waiver or the fee for whatever motion or complaint you're filing. It is helpful if you include a self-addressed stamped envelope because you'll get a copy of your motion back. And then just make sure you keep a copy of whatever you're filing for yourself. And then the same thing, you'll get a notice of hearing in the mail with your hearing date for that. We talked earlier about the different kinds of objections that there are. So a referee is as I mentioned earlier, they can make recommendations. They don't make orders of the court. So that's the difference between a referee and a judge. The judge has to adopt the referee's recommendation as an actual order. So if you go to a referee for a hearing and they make a recommendation and you want to object to that, we do provide the objection form with all the instructions, but basically, you would email that objection to the assigned judge's courtroom email box. And again, I'll show you where those are located on our website. If it's a case establishment hearing, so those are hearings that the friend of the court starts on behalf of the state of Michigan, where a child is receiving some types of benefits, whether it be cash assistance, Medicaid, or food stamps. And the state sends those cases to us to either establish paternity and or just establish a support order. So if you have an objection to a case establishment referee recommendation, the instructions are there. You can either mail it in or you can fax it or you can email it. And again, those instructions are all provided to you with the form for the objection as well once you get that recommendation in the mail. Oops. And then the last one objection that there is the friend of the court review and modification department can make a recommendation as to child support and what the child support should be. You are entitled to object to that recommendation and then get a hearing in front of the referee. And so you can either file that in person at KMAC, you could file it by mail or fax. Well, you have to file it, you have to file it at KMAC, either in person or by mail, and then you also have to send a copy to the friend of the court. So that's what that second line is. And you will get a hearing date on that in the mail as well. Jillian had mentioned earlier our consent docket. So this is something that was recently reinstituted. We had taken it down because of COVID and we weren't doing anything in person, but it's happening again. So Jillian had mentioned earlier a couple of the issues that can be heard on our consent docket. So basically what it is it's a referee hearing for parties who may have an agreement as to something. So issues that can be resolved on the consent docket, if there's an agreement as to a credit for the arrears, if there's a change in parenting time, or if there's an agreement as to modifying the income withholding order. Those are all things that can be done on the consent docket. Things that can't be done on the consent docket would be changes to custody. That does have to have a hearing. Changes to domicile, so where the child is living, and changes to child support, those have to have motions filed instead of just the consent. And again, on our website, there's more information about the consent docket, and we will show you where to find that as well. There are some legal resources available for people who do need help. Lakeshore Legal Aid is one of the ones that many people use. The phone number and the website are there. William Booth Legal Aid Clinic is another legal aid clinic that's great. They used to provide in-person help at the Coleman Young Center. We're trying to get them back up virtually with having virtual clinics. That is to come, hopefully in May, but they can provide assistance as well. You can either call them or check out their website. Another one is the Detroit Legal Services Clinic, and you can see the website there. And then Michigan Legal Help, both the website and there is an in-person clinic for that as well. The website has a ton of information on it. It has basically interviews that parties can use. If, let's say, if you want to file for divorce, but you don't want to hire an attorney, there's a divorce interview on that website where you can go through, you can answer all the questions that you need to answer. And then at the end of that interview, it'll give you all the paperwork that you need to file. There is a Michigan Legal Help Center that is open in the Coleman Young Center right now. It's on the 19th floor. So there are navigators there that can help you navigate through that website and through those interviews. They are not attorneys and they cannot provide legal advice, but they can at least help navigate through kind of that paperwork piece of things. Okay, so we are going to switch over and go through our website. There's a lot of information on the website. We know that it is sometimes a little bit difficult to navigate, as is Zoom right now for me. Hang on one second. You would think being on meetings all day long that I'd be better at this, but. All right, so the court's website is at www.3rdcc.org. And when you come to the website, this is what you see. A lot of the main things are on this initial page. So over here, these 6 boxes, make a payment is one of the things that many people need for front of the court. So if you click on that, then you can see you can click on this front of the court matters. So all of these things all of the ways to make payments that Jillian talked about earlier, if you forget, obviously we don't expect you to keep all of those to memory. All of that is here. So it even gives you, if you're calling to make a payment, the codes that you need to be able to type in, all of the pay near me information, the MoneyGram information, that is all available there. And going back to the front, Jillian had talked earlier about Odyssey and being able to see the register of actions on your case and what's happening on your case. So that would be here, this Odyssey public access. You just need to read through the disclaimer and then you would click accept. And then for front of the court cases or divorce cases, it's going to be a non-criminal case. So you just click on non-criminal. And then there is this reCAPTCHA that you have to do at the top. I know this, I realize this is a little bit small. I apologize. My mother's calling me. I'm sorry about that. So you have to do the reCAPTCHA at the top, and then you can either search by party's name, or there is a way, if you happen to know your case number, you can search by the case number as well. And so that's going to give you, like I said, all of the information on your case and what's happening on your case. Jillian had also talked about the court reminder service that you can sign up for, and that will give you notifications of any hearings that are on your cases. And so this page gives you all of the information that you need if you're a new user, how to sign up as a new user, or if you've already signed up for it, how you would sign in to view your account for that. Excuse me. And then, as we talked about earlier too, the form section of the web page, if you go to that, you'll see that there is an entire section for the front of the court forms. So you can click on there. There's important updates, which we'll go through in a minute. But if you scroll down, you'll see all of the different forms that you may need. Our front of the court handbook is here. We have parenting time plans that the court will use as well. You can look through those. Those are there. There are all of these motion fees, or I'm sorry, not motion fees, motion packets, the motion to change custody, which we talked about earlier, motion to change parenting time. There's obviously a lot here. And so there is this function at the top where you can use a quick filter. So let's say you want a motion to change child support. You can type in child support, and then it's going to pull up everything that has child support in it. So that motion to modify child support's right there. These are just PDF documents. They do have all of the instructions on how to file as well, but they're fillable, so you can click and type in the actual document, and then you would be able to save it and print it out if you're filing in person. Or once we get back on e-filing, you would just then file the PDF of it.
Can you show them there, Erin, the state discharge and the step 2 abate support?
Yes.
I think it's at the bottom.
Go back to front of the court. So Jillian talked earlier about the state discharge application to get some or all of your arrears wiped out. That's there in the forms, and the miscellaneous, this discharge of state owed arrears. And again, it gives you all the instructions that you need to know on how to file that. It's a simple mail in to the front of the court. And you can see the application there for that.
The only thing, Erin, we should point out about that is that if you have cases in other counties, you would want to send this packet to each county. So if you have multiple cases at Wayne County front of the court, you can just submit one application and we'll process it for all of your cases. But if you have a case in Wayne County and a case in Oakland, you would need to submit one for us in Wayne and another one in Oakland.
Good point there. And then the stipulation to abate based on marriage, that's there as well too. And again, all of the instructions are on there. We try to make it as simple as possible because we know that navigating the court is very confusing. So we do include on all of the forms, we include those instructions. We had talked earlier about all of the hearings being virtual. So you'll see at the top of the page here, there's a Zoom virtual meetings link, and that will take you to all the different divisions and how you get into the courtrooms. So you'll see there's a family division domestic and a family division FOC. That is just the difference between the judges' dockets and then the front of the court referees. So if you click on family division domestic, that is going to take you to the list of the judges in family domestic, and then to join a hearing, all you do is just click on the join meeting button. If you want to make sure that you're on that judge's docket that day, you can actually click on the view docket, and it's going to pull up a list of all of the things that that judge has and what time those hearings are as well. And it's the same thing as well for the referees. So you can see if you go to Family Division FOC, maybe it's thinking right now, but that is the same thing. Of course, the website's going to die on me now in the middle of a presentation. Okay, here we go. So you can see all the different referees' names. And again, you can look at the docket to see if you are on the docket for that day. If you do have a case establishment hearing, your notice of hearing will indicate that, and you'll just go right into the case establishment courtroom. We had talked earlier about the judge's email addresses too. In certain situations, you may need to email the courtroom. Those can be found on this page as well. So if you see right here under Judge Cox's, her courtroom email is found at that link. We do have a friend of the court specific webpage. So if you go over to divisions, and then you can click on the front of the court. As you can see, the big red box at the top, that's got kind of our most important information. A lot of the things that we talked about today, that we're doing in-person filings, that our payment window is open, and these yellow links over here have a lot of really good information in them as well. A lot of it is all of the stuff, again, that we talked about today. Ways to contact the front of the court, which Jillian went over earlier. If you open this too, this is a nice PDF. So if you want to print it out, put it on your refrigerator, or share it with a friend, you can do that. We even have the QR code, so you can just, if you have a phone, you can just use your camera on your phone to go right to those links. We do have a frequently asked questions page, so you might want to check out here to see if some of your questions are answered. Again, a lot of this stuff is the stuff that we had already talked about today. Jillian had mentioned earlier the virtual customer service appointments that you can make. So there's a link here for those as well. This just gives you a little bit of information about when the customer service appointments are. You do have to have an updated internet browser. We prefer Chrome or Edge because sometimes with some of the other browsers, there's issues with it. To make an appointment with the customer service reps, you would just click on that link right there. It's going to take you into the system called Setmore. It just indicates here to make sure you're selecting the correct service. Customer service is where you just talk to somebody one-on-one about your case and get your questions answered. The consent docket is what we talked about earlier for parties who have an agreement as to something and they want to put that into an order. So if you want a customer service appointment, again, you just click on there, click again. It's going to tell you when there's dates and times available. So it looks like actually, if you wanted to get in on Friday this week, you could. You just select your time, and then you would just enter in the information that it asks you for. So first and last name, some of these things are mandatory fields because we do want to make sure that we have your correct information. And then what you would do, you just agree to the cancellation policy and you would book it. You do get an email with the link and a reminder on your appointment for that. So it's pretty simple. It's the same thing for the consent hearings. If you click on the page for that, it does give you some information, the things that can be heard on the consent docket, the things that can't be heard on the consent docket. And then at the bottom, again, after you've read through all that, there's the link to click here, and it's the same system as it is for the virtual customer service. The instruction filing, so all of the things that we talked about with regards to how to file instructions are all on this page here. There is a lot there, but the highlights of it we already covered. But if you are going to file something, we just recommend that you look through this page and that you ensure that you're following all the instructions for how to file. It's not a friend of the court issue per se, but many parties who have friend of the court cases also have personal protection orders that they may need. So there's information on here on how to file personal protection orders. We actually are doing all of the filing for those through that Michigan Legal Help tool. So you would go there You would enter that interview, and again, it's going to ask you all the questions. And then the nice thing about that interview is that once it's done, it actually files the paperwork right with the court. So there's nothing more that you need to do. It emails it right to the court, and it's pretty simple. And then I think the last thing on here is that precipice. When you're filing a motion, you would, once the motion is filed, then you would need to go in to get that precipice for either the judge or the front of the court referee to get a hearing date, or like I said, for front of the court ones, you can also visit the scheduling office for that as well. One of the other things that is on our website is you can actually see the Michigan Child Support Calculator, and if you want to, you can play around with it. A lot of people believe that front of the court offices are the ones who decide how much child support is going to be. It is true to an extent. There is a guideline that the state of Michigan sets. The State Court Administrative Office does. It does get feedback from many different entities, but those guidelines basically tell the front of the court how to calculate child support. And they do make the calculator available for parties to look at. So basically, if you were to use this calculator, go in and continue, you're using the same calculator for child support that we use in our offices. If you want to look at the formula to see how it is calculated, there's a link actually to it right here. This is the same manual that we use in our offices, and the same manual that all offices, all front of the court offices and courts within the state of Michigan use too. So, if you have some extra time and you want to do some light reading, you can go through and read all about how we calculate child support, but that information is all there for you as well. I think I covered everything on our website. Jillian, is there anything you can think of that I missed?
Did you show the e-precipice?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else we want to go over before we open it up to questions? I think we covered everything. So I know there was some questions bouncing around in the chat.
I think there's just one in the chat from Ms. Harris. And then I think I saw that Ms. Elliott raised her hand.
Yeah. And I think I got one that was just to me as well. So Ms. Harris's was due to front of the court being closed. Parent made child support payments directly to the other parent. Money order receipts were kept. The parent went to the front of the court to report payments and find out the payment process going forward. This parent, I'm not sure, was told maybe that they weren't in the front of the court system to pay child support. So what does the parent need to do? So I don't know, Ms. Harris, are you able to come off of mute?
Yes.
Okay, can you explain a little bit more about the situation?
So during the pandemic, they over Zoom, they were child support payments were established, what were to be paid, but no coupons were ever sent out to the father. So he continued to pay the mother by money order because they had already came up with an amount that he would pay. And so he was doing it before they went through the friend of the court. So after the friend of the court, so then when you guys shut down, he wasn't able to make the payment through the friend of the court. So he continued to do it via money order.
Yep.
And then once you guys opened back up, he went down there to find out, to say, hey, I've been paying child support like I was, ordered to, and what do I do? Need to go forward. And they told him they did not have his case. They didn't have it in the system for him to be paying child support.
But you said he did definitely go to court and
they did it on Zoom. Yes.
Do you know if it was a divorce case or a non-divorce case?
It's not a divorce case.
Because the two reasons I can think that it wouldn't be our system is either we didn't receive the order to load it in our system, or they didn't apply for 40 services. That's why I was thinking it might be a divorce case.
Nope, it's not a divorce case.
so I would Is this your, well, I don't want to ask, but is it your case or is it like a friend's case or something?
It's a friend's case.
Okay. Because of what it sounds like is, like Jillian said, it sounds like it may be a situation where because what happens oftentimes is that the court will issue an order, but then the friend of the court has to receive it in order to put it into our system. So our system's called the Michigan Child Support Enforcement System. That's basically the computer system that we use. And it sounds like that order didn't get transferred over to Michigan Child Support System in order for us to like actually charge the child support. What I'm gonna give you, I'm probably gonna give you my office number to have him call me and talk to my assistant, and we'll get it figured out, because I don't wanna just send him to the call center.
Okay.
And so I'll send you a message in the chat with my office number, because we definitely wanna get that one figured out.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Ms. Elliott, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. In the last part of your presentation, you showed how the numbers are derived kind of electronically based on the data of the two parties to figure out the child support payment. So my question is just specifically about that system. And do they take into just consideration like your W-2 and 1099, or do they also look at investments, real estate properties, other sources of income? That's my first part of the question. And then the second part is our personal information then disclosed to the other party, such as our place of employment?
So with regard to the child support guidelines, so usually it is just where W-2s and wages are taken into consideration. It can get very complicated. So let's say if somebody is self-employed and has their own business, you know, oftentimes people use businesses to hide expenses, or not hide expenses, but hide money or things like that. And so the referees and the judges, they can actually have parties bring in, you know, their tax returns and things like that in order to examine those to really get at, you know, what somebody's income is. Certain types of investments are considered income and will be looked at. Others aren't. There's also what's called imputed income. So let's say me, for instance, if my husband and I get divorced, and even though I'm an attorney and I'm a practicing attorney right now, if I just quit my job, if I went to court and said, well, I don't have an income, the court could do imputation, which is basically like, okay, I'm going to look at your situation. Where are you living? Who's paying your bills? What's your education like? What could an attorney go out right now in the job market and get paid? You know, you can't basically just like voluntarily not have income. And so that's something that the court can do as well. I don't know, Jillian, do you have anything else to add to that piece of it?
Just besides income, some of the other factors that are input in the child support formula are parenting time overnights is a big one. Childcare expenses are included in there. And also healthcare premiums are big ones that can drive what the numbers come out to be. There are some deductions for things like union dues. There's adjustments for additional children. But like Aaron said earlier with the calculator, it is a really complex formula. We plug all those factors in there and cross calculate, and the system tells us what the figure should be.
Yep. And then I think the second part of your question was about disclosing information to the other party. So without doing anything else, yes, there is information that would be disclosed to the other party. So for instance, when we enter a uniform child support order, which is the order that's entered by the court that indicates what child support will be. Usually that does have each party's employer on that order, and so that can get sent to the other party. If you want to have your information be held confidential, there's a form that you can submit with our office in order to have that done too. And so if you submit the form and we have it in our system as confidential, then the only thing that we'll ever give the other party is just your name. No personal address or employment information or anything like that.
Okay, what is that form on your website so I can type it into the search box, that form number to keep it confidential?
I don't know the
if it has-
number, but if you just type in confidential in that filter, I'm sure it's going to come up.
Yeah.
One other thing though is that we do provide the calculations to both parties.
Sure,
So
that, okay.
the
Red.
income, yeah, that income information's on there, and basically each party needs to know what we use so they know whether or not it's correct or if they want to object to it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep,
You're
and it is just on the website, it's just the, what is it called? Request for, there is a form number, sorry, it's 4061. Jillian and I don't have all of them memorized, but I put the link in the chat as well, so you can see that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking through the chat, I think Mr. Jones also had a question earlier that I don't know if we caught. He was asked by a parent what to do when the friend of the court is taking from both of their paychecks from 2 different jobs. So that's something else that we encounter a lot as well. Contrary to kind of popular belief, we cannot take somebody's entire paycheck to pay child support. There are rules, federally and state rules, that only let us take up to 50% of somebody's income. If they are getting it taken out of both paychecks, they could file a motion to have the income withholding order adjusted. There's a motion for financial issues that they could use for that, or that's also something that if the parties both agree to adjusting the income withholding order, that's something that can be handled on the consent docket too. We really can't and don't adjust income withholding orders to lower than what the monthly support obligation is. So if the person's support is really more than what they can afford to pay in a month, then they would need to file a motion to change their actual child support obligation. But if it's a matter of that they're meeting their monthly support obligation and there's just a lot that's going towards the arrearage, we can definitely adjust that if they were to file a motion for that. Oh, Jillian did. And after I say all of that, I see that Jillian answered it in the chat.
Well, and I also said, Aaron, that we could administratively terminate the second income withholding if we were getting enough from the first income withholding.
Yeah.
Because when the income withholding orders, so like I said earlier, the system's sending out the income withholding orders. It doesn't know what job you're working at, if you're working at one or both or none, and it doesn't know which one's your primary, which one's your secondary. So if we're getting enough from your primary job, because it's going to go out for the full monthly support obligation plus an amount on the arrears. So say your support's $200 a month, maybe it goes out for $250 a month to cover the current support of $200 plus $50 on the arrears. If we send out an income withholding order to both jobs for that amount, and we're getting that amount from both, or we're getting the full amount from one and a little bit for the other, we can terminate that second one.
Yep.
And so we can do that administratively. So I would probably start by just contacting or scheduling an appointment on our customer service, virtual appointments, and see if you can get it resolved that way. Otherwise, you can file the motion before the referee.
There was another message that came into me directly about just clarifying what is open for in-person, both at Coleman Young and at Penobscot. So at Coleman Young, it's just the filing of motions or complaints with the county clerk's office. And then in the Penobscot building, right now, we're only doing the payments. The payment window is the only thing that's open. We are trying to get our customer service back open in person, but that's not happening quite yet. So hopefully that clarified. And I think that was all the questions in the chat. I'm not sure if anybody wants to come off mute and ask anything, or if there are any other questions. Now is the time. Anyone? You got the two of the Wayne friend of the court experts here. So We are happy to help in any way that we can with any kind of questions.
Hello?
Mr. Keith, yep.
Yes. I don't know, this situation's been going on for 3 years. You know what I mean? She just basically quit. And she, you know, on paper, we have 50-50 custody. You know what I mean? Like I said, she just basically quit. She, you know, I don't even really have a concrete address for her. So I have my daughter all the time. I have her all the time. She surfaces every other weekend, usually at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And I allow my daughter to go with her, and then she brings her back, you know what I mean, usually like 1 o'clock on Sunday. And that's basically all that it is. And that's just recently started going on. In court, like I said, we have 50-50 custody. I didn't know that there was a difference between the Coleman Young building and the Penobscot building. I actually walked into the Penobscot building.
Okay.
And, you know, so I have to go to the other building, file a motion,
Yep.
and then, okay.
Yep. So what you would do is you would go online to our website and get that motion to change custody. And then that's filed at the Coleman Young building. And that's the one where you have to go up to, well, motion to change custody. First of all, the fee for that one is $100. So if you need the fee waiver, you'd have to also fill that form out and go to the chief judge's courtroom to get the fee waiver approved. And then once you did that, then you would go to room 700A, get your number, go down to 201 to file it. And then the custody motion, that is heard first in front of the referee, because the referee has to find that there's basically a change of circumstances. It's called proper cause and change of circumstances in order to change custody. So it sounds like in your situation that, you know, she's kind of tapped out of the whole situation. So yeah, it would be up to the referee. There's factors that the court looks at with regard to custody. There's 12 of them. And so that's what they would look at in order to determine whether or not they needed to or would change custody in your situation.
And then how long does it usually take to get a hearing?
Not very long. So if you're filing your motion in person, you can actually, because this is a referee hearing, you could actually go to the scheduling office and you'd get your hearing date that day. Well, you would get the date for the hearing that day, but the actual hearing we're usually only like maybe 3 weeks out or so. So it's actually not bad from the time you file your motion to actually getting in front of the referee.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome. Good luck with your situation.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. All right, any other questions? Going once, twice. I didn't see anything else in the chat. I think we're good, John.
This is a great opportunity.
He's not gonna let it pass you by.
I wish I would have had this opportunity back in the day when I was working with a case with a friend of the court, but this is a beautiful environment, non-judgmental, where we take your questions and answer them to the best of our ability to help you out.
I have a question, but it's DHS related. So can I email it to you, or?
If you want to ask it, it's fine. It might.
So if I know you did a training with us before, but I think a lot of the questions that I'm getting from a lot of workers, I'm the court liaison for Wayne County DHS. A lot of questions that I'm receiving for the workers here in Wayne County and out of the county is how do they go about filing? So usually if a child is placed with a father by our judge in our juvenile court, how do we stop the payments in Wayne County Court? Like how soon will it stop and how do we go about what forms should be filled out right away?
So just kind of for everyone's benefit. So Ms. Rogers is talking about in Wayne County, there's the family domestic side of the family division, which is the divorce, the custody, paternity, child support, but there's also family juvenile. And we're in most of their courts, those would be done by the same judge and under the same roof. But because we're so big in Wayne County, we're 2 different sections of the same division. So sometimes what happens is that there's an abuse and neglect case, and that juvenile referee or judge might release the child to the father, but then the juvenile case is separate from the underlying family support or paternity or divorce case. So in those cases, that juvenile jurist can order that the support stop, but also we have a rule in family domestic that if the child is residing full-time with the non-custodial parent, that we need to abate the child support, basically, if obviously non-custodial parent is the one who's paying child support. So I would say probably the easiest way to go about that would be to have that. In most instances, it's the dad, but sometimes it is the mom who's a non-custodial parent. Have that parent call our call center, and if they can provide us with a copy of that juvenile order, that's super helpful. Obviously, if it's a Wayne County order, we have access to those. But if they did that and just contacted us and notified us that the child's been released to them, then we can stop the child support. We have a process in which we're supposed to be like transferring the cases so that they go over to juvenile and that we'll get the orders back. It's not always the most perfect or smooth process, but we are trying to kind of make that all better. So I don't know, does that help?
Yeah, that helps. So I know you received, I don't know if you received, but I know you know with the 729 indicating that the DHS 729 indicating that a case was open on a particular family or a petition was filed. I was trying to explain to a worker that do not automatically qualify that case to be turned over. Like, so the child support won't automatically stop if they send that in.
No, because the 729 just says that the case was opened, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's really until the time that the juvenile jurist enters an order that releases the child, we have to know that the child is with the non-custodial parent full-time in order to stop the child support.
Okay. And I'm gonna email you, Erin, to see where is the best place to send the 729s, especially in those cases, because I can start sending them with the prelim orders. Usually they come after that in those cases.
Yeah, we could do that, because actually I don't even know where they go right now, where those 729s.
Yeah, someone, like 5 people asked me this week is, where do we send the 729? And I'm like, ugh.
They go to ombudsman, Erin, but
Do they?
I don't
That's what
know.
I was thinking.
Yeah, they definitely go to ombudsman, but I just don't know if you guys fax them or email them or however you get them to us.
So before it was faxed, prior to the pandemic, then it was a couple things, and I know because our courts the juvenile courts went through the same thing where, hey, continue to fax them, we have somebody picking them up, or send them here. I know we had an email address. However, I'm not sure if that is still sustainable for workers to connect to. So if you can send me something that I can just release to the workers that they should be sending these directly to this email or this fax number, that would be awesome.
And if they send us to the order for placement, I would, indicate that, child was placed with dad and ask that they abate the support or stop the support, just because a lot of times when we get those orders, you know what they look like. They're several pages long and they're check boxes, and it's kind of hard to find the meat of it. So they might not know that they're getting it for the purpose of stopping the support versus just like an FYI of what's going on.
Okay. And I definitely will make note of that so we can tell our deputy, so we can let them know, like, hey, because I know it's a lot of orders that come to you guys.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Okay.
Do you have my email address? Because I was just gonna say, just shoot me an email to remind me to work on this. I'll send it to you in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, that's in the chat to you, Ms. Rogers.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. All right, any other questions?
It's Colleen. I'm just following up on this form 4061 that you referenced earlier, and that's great. So it just mentions that my physical home address will be kept confidential, but I was more concerned with my place of employment being kept confidential. Is it the same form? I just notate that on here?
Yeah, I don't know why our form says just the address, but once we make it confidential, it's everything. It's your address, it's your phone number, your email, your work, it's everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Good question.
And that needs to be notarized. I sign it in front of a notary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All right, any other questions? Well, thank you all for coming. We had a good group and lots of good questions, so we appreciate it. And if you found this helpful, we'll put in a little plug. We have one more session scheduled for the spring in May. It was on the same flyer that was mailed out. I'm not remembering the date of the May one, May 18th. Same time, 5:30 to 7. We're probably going to take a little break for the summer, but if you guys could spread the word if you found it helpful, that helps us as well.
Right, and for those parents, those in the community, if you come up with another question, you can always email me. I provided that in the chat, jmiles@thechildrencenter.com. Like I say, we're here to support you, regardless of the past rumors for the last 900 years, and regardless of the role that friend of the court plays. There are services helped here and designed to help support you along the way. So on that note, thank you once again, Aaron, Julian, and Third Circuit Court for helping me to provide this to the community. Once again, my name is John Miles, and I'm the coordinator for Wayne County Fatherhood Initiative. Everyone have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Coming.
Thank you.